Okay, got enough members here. We're going to get started with our caucus. Welcome everyone to our Monday, March 17th, happy St. Patrick's Day, meeting of the Albany Common Council. It's our caucus. Mr. Jimenez, please call the roll.
Adams, Anane, Ballerin,
Here.
Clark, Conti,
Here.
Farrell, Flynn,
Here.
Frederick, Hoey, Johnson is absent, Keegan,
Here.
Kimbrough,
Here.
Love, Robinson, Zamer.
Here.
9 present. We're also joined by City Clerk Shaniqua Jackson, Corporation Counsel Robert McGee, Research Counsel Jake Iceland, Legislative Director Brian Jimenez, and Junior Policy Analyst Alyssa Kamara.
Thank you. Okay, jumping right into the agenda. We'll start the evening with a public hearing. It'll be for Ordinance 65-111-24 by Mr. Ballerin. It's in the USDO in relation to sign requirements. And pending the outcome of the hearing, we'll be moving forward with the ordinance. Okay, next under ordinances held, Mr. Flynn's ordinance 29-102-24. It's in relation to removal of double poles. Passed the General Services Committee on March 11th with a positive recommendation. We'll be moving forward with that. I mentioned Mr. Ballerin's already. Next on to resolutions. Under resolutions introduced, we'll have Mr. Conti's resolution 173225R. It's a resolution of Common Council recognizing Transgender Day of Visibility and affirming the support of the trans community. I believe we got a head count for the sponsors, or we're all co-sponsors on that. So we'll be moving forward with that. The next, from Mr. Anani, resolution introduced, it's 183225. It's a resolution the council urging the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign the Bigger, Better Bottle Bill and the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act. We'll be moving forward with voting on that. The next, also another resolution by Mr. Anani's 193225R, resolution of the council in support of the efforts of the Pine Hills Land Authority in their redevelopment and sale of the former colleges of St. Rose. We'll be moving forward with voting on that. And we got a couple actually, I missed a couple of resolutions in there. Rolling back to the intro, taking a step back, Mr. Adams has a resolution 153225R, is a resolution authorizing the Commissioner Department of Assessment and Taxation to place property owned by Praise Tabernacle Church of God on the exempt portions of the 2021, 2022, 2023 assessment rolls. That's going to be a referral to Finance. Then next resolution by Ms. Love, 163225, is a resolution of the council honoring the life and legacy of Winnie Mae Everett and renaming a portion of Sheridan Ave in her honor. That'll be going to General Services. Then getting back to resolutions, we're adding by majority consent. We'll be adding one by majority consent. We spoke of two. Will reappear on our next agenda for our next meeting as Currently, it's 203225R. It's MC. It should be on your desk. They should be separate. You guys don't have them? So as it stands, it's 203225. It's going to be renumbered to 204125, and that's the one for the rest, for the Rent Emergency Stabilization for Tenants Act. That one by Mr. Ballerin and Ms. Keegan. That'll reappear on our next agenda. On this current agenda as an MC, we're having resolution by Mr. Ballerin, 213225. It's the resolution commemorating Ramadan. I can't pronounce the Eid al-Fitr for these celebrations. That one we're moving forward with. We will be adding that by majority consent. That's 213225. Okay. And so that is, maybe I didn't miss anything else. So that's it for our resolutions. Anyone have any questions? Mr. Conti. Yeah, so we're past the agenda, so we can just talk before we start.
Status question. So earlier in the year, the council passed the ethics local law, the new ethics local law, which created a ethics board with some council appointees, and I wonder what the status of that was as far as the process for making appointments or soliciting candidates or
Okay.
description of responsibilities.
Ms. Farrell?
Right now, the status is not moving. It is actually something I was going to privately talk to you about, Mr. Conti, because I was hoping you would help me with it. But it is something that we need to move along to actually get the board established. And I think it will need to be more of a council-led process, just as this has been a very council-specific endeavor so far. So, yeah.
So you're in? You in? You up for it? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Conti. Anyone else? No? If not, let's take a break until the start of the meeting. Remember to turn your mics off if they're on. It's like two.
It's now 7 p.m. and we'll call today Happy St. Patrick's Day. Call to order Monday, March 17th, 2025, Albany Common Council meeting. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams.
Present.
Anani. Ballerin.
Here.
Clark. Conti.
Here.
Farrow.
Here.
Flynn.
Here.
Frederick. Hoey. Johnson. Keegan.
Here.
Kimbrough.
Here.
Love. Robinson.
Here.
Zamer.
Here.
12 present, 4 absent.
Okay, will you stand with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and after that, a moment of silence.
I can't count.
Thank you. We'll now move on to our agenda. We have a notice of a public hearing tonight. Public hearing is separate than public comment period. Public hearing is you come and speak only on the public hearing subject. At that time, if you choose to speak on this public hearing, council members, different than public comment, they can ask you questions on your statements on the public hearing notice. So with that being said, can the clerk please read the public hearing?
A notice is hereby given that the Common Council public hearing will be held on March 17th, 2025 at 7 p.m. and will be held in advance of a potential passage of the following ordinance. This meeting will be an in-person meeting in the Common Council chambers, City Hall, and will be held on the following matters. Ordinance 65-111-24, an ordinance amending Chapter 375, Unified Sustainable Development Ordinance of the Code of the City of Albany in relation to requirements for signs. Documents may be inspected between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, in the office of the Common Council, 24 Eagle Street, Room 206, Albany, New York, 12207. Efforts will be made to make documents available for the viewing online. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the guidelines established in Open Meetings Law, and anyone wishing to be heard can submit written comments at commoncouncil@albanyny.gov or provide in-person testimony on the ordinance before the Common Council for consideration. The public hearing will be live streamed on our YouTube page. We encourage all interested parties to submit written comments by March 17, 2025. Anyone wishing to be heard will have an opportunity to do so. Will have an opportunity to be heard at the above stated time and location.
Is there anyone signed up for the public hearing?
Yes, one person signed up. Monica Jones.
State your name and address for the record.
My name is Monica Jones. My address is 175 South Swan Street, apartment 11C as in Christmas, Albany, New York, 12210. And I would like to say happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you to the Common Council for your service to Albany. The first thing I'd like to talk about is fluoridated water.
Excuse me. The public hearing is different than public comment. Public
okay.
hearing is based off of the ordinance that's in front of us, so are you signed up for public comment?
I don't know. This is my
Okay,
first
you
time
probably,
wanting to speak.
all right, so we'll call you in public comment.
Oh, okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
So there is no one signed up for public hearing on this ordinance 65-111-24. So we'll deem the public hearing closed at this time. And now we'll move on to, I should have had her stay, but now we'll move on to, I should have had you stay. And now we'll move on to public comment. During public comment period, you can state your, for public comment.
So you can talk about anything. Okay.
So public comment period, you state your name and address for the record as you've done. You will
Okay.
have 5 minutes to speak on any topic you wish to. Unlike
Okay.
unlike a public hearing, council members cannot comment or answer any of your questions at this time when you speak. If council members choose to address your statements, they will do so at a later time during the agenda. There will be a green light, that means go. You will see a yellow light when you have 1 minute remaining, and a red light will come on saying conclude your comments. So with that being said, since you already introduced yourself for the public record, you can start.
So I keep hearing about the reason why Albany is putting fluoride in the water is because when you look at a child's teeth, you can tell that they're from Albany because they have a lot of cavities. Albany County Dental Services offers preventative care and dental treatments for children up to age 18. They also offer fluoride for children ages 6 years old and younger, which is a topical fluoride banish which gets applied directly to the teeth after their teeth have been cleaned. For children 7 years old and older, they have fluoride foam that is applied to the teeth after a teeth cleaning is performed as well. According to Medical News Today, and the article is titled, "Why Do We Have Fluoride in Our Water?" dated for February 21st, 2018. Too much fluoride can lead to dental fluorosis or skeletal fluorosis, which can damage bones and joints. Me, as a resident, I'm concerned about the aftermath about putting fluoride in the water and how it's going to be handled. How will the fluoridated water, and I'm just posing this question, not expecting an answer, but just as something to think about, how will it affect women who are pregnant or who want to get pregnant? People who have chronic conditions, people, who may have chronic conditions that they haven't even been diagnosed of. My question is, who's going to be in charge of keeping track of the side effects that people could possibly have as a result of the fluoridated water? And I actually heard, and this is hearsay, that there's already fluoride in Albany's water. I don't know if this is true or not, but a question to think about that I'd like to pose to the council is, have the fluoride levels in Albany been tested? The next thing that I'd like to move on to is something that is really not only close to my heart, but something that has been bothering me for the last 6 months, because I've seen an influx everywhere I go. Albany has a real homeless problem. As you know, my address, 175 South Swan Street, is right around the corner from the governor's mansion. And a mansion that I'm not even sure is occupied on a regular basis. But on my way here tonight, I saw a total of 5 homeless people. How they became homeless really is not my business. And we all know that sometimes even when people are down and out, they don't always all want to be helped. But I'm talking about the people that want to be helped. It really bothers me when I live right around the corner from the governor's mansion, and I have seen more homeless people in Albany that I have ever seen in my life in the last 6 months. And I've lived in Albany all my life. I have people coming up to me that are dirty, and smell like garbage cans. I went to the St. Patrick's Day festivities at the Empire State Plaza, and a gentleman came up to me, smelled like a garbage can. I got him some food, told him to have a blessed day, but at the end of the day, as I'm looking at all my Common Council members and my fellow Albanians, as we go home tonight to our respective apartments and houses, I want you to think about the person and the people who are going home to nothing. The people that want to be helped, and for whatever reason, they're in the situation that they're in, but the people that want to be helped. Let's think about them. What can we do to help them. That includes me. Because the thing about it is, at the end of the day, being a neighbor is just not a neighbor that you see. It's about people who share in a certain community within a certain proximity, and I feel like, honestly, more can be done. But again, I want to say thank you to all my Common Council members. You guys give up your time, your services, and I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
the clerk call next speaker?
Rich Frederickson.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing us to speak.
State your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Yes, my apologies. My name is Rich. I go by Ash Frederickson. I am at 40 Westerlo Street, Apartment B in Queens, New York, 12045. Thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight. I'm here to speak in favor of the resolution to declare Transgender Day of Remembrance, or Transgender Day of Visibility, as a observance in Albany City, all right? In our current political climate, in a time when transgender people across the nation are suddenly being discriminated against, receiving hatred of all types, when corporations are rolling back DEI programs and policies affecting people of all backgrounds, not just transgender people, and they're being affected negatively in numerous ways. Where honorably serving service members are being discharged from service wrongfully after being allowed to serve for almost 20 years, uprooting their families and disrupting their lives and their livelihoods. At a time, even just today, that the Department of Veterans Affairs announced the removal of anti-discrimination policies that protected transgender veterans in their facilities. At a time when political rhetoric is allowed to rule the day in attempts to erase the existence of transgender people from all backgrounds, inserting a lived experience. I'm generally pretty new to this community, okay? I have experience dealing with, and it just blows my mind, of how many transgender people from all backgrounds, races, ethnicities, cultures that I've met in the last several years. I've met biochemists, I've met biologists, bus drivers, mechanics, service members, people who are politicians. It's just, to me, it's people kind of frown upon the transgender community because they think it's just a lower thought of class of society, but the truth is that we come from all segments of society, okay? I feel that it is necessary to speak out in favor of and express undeniable and unwavering support for the City of Albany to honor the many transgender people that are residents of this city, and honor them the dignity and respect of providing this observance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Can the clerk please call next speaker?
Tandra Legrone.
Good evening. I'm Tandra Legrone, the CEO of In Our Own Voices, 245 Lark Street, Albany, New York. I am here this evening in support of the resolution of Trans Day of Visibility. The importance of this resolution, I have to also acknowledge that this is an uncommon resolution because in the capital region, there are a lot of counties that are not in support of transgendered and transgender individuals. I sit before you as an ally. I'm not a person who identifies as trans, but I am an ally that runs an organization in support of LGBTQI+ with a particular focus on Black, Indigenous people of color. One of the things that I would like to add of the importance of Trans Day of Visibility, it is oftentimes the silence that has perpetuated violence within the trans community. That lack of visibility, that lack of seeing someone who looks like you when you enter a room, and the lack of visibility of seeing yourself in the media and also in the public. I also wanted to bring to light that with this year's resolution, I am requesting that this year's resolution be in the name of Assad Hemingway Powell, who was an Albanian Black trans woman that was brutally murdered 2 years ago right here in the city of Albany. I would be remiss if we could not honor the life because of the lack of visibility that took Sid Chum Chum Powell's life away from us here in the city of Albany. That life was stolen. And that is for many, many, many trans-identified individuals across this country. But I also would like, again, to thank Richard Conte and the Common Council for always being that beam of light of what it means for inclusivity, diversity, and bringing these topics to the city of Albany. I travel all over the United States. This is not common. And if I can say it's not common, I can only imagine what it means for the city and the residents of the city of Albany, that many fear to go outside, many fear to go out in the public. They are keeping themselves locked at home because of the fear. Not too far from here, we had another gruesome, brutal murder of Sam. And so with that, the visibility that we need to add to this is about us as a community being able to acknowledge the existence of human beings. Trans rights are human rights. And again, I would like to thank the Common Council for allowing me to speak today. And thank you for all of your support in the city of Albany. I just hope that other counties and other cities follow suit as you have set the example for. Thank you.
Thank you. Can the clerk?
Colin Cutney.
Hello, my name is Colin Cutney. I live at 285 Washington Avenue, apartment 3R, Albany, New York, 12206. My name is Colin. I recently moved back to the city of Albany after a decade of being away. I'm also a proud and happy transgender man. I'm here to thank the Albany Common Council for its resolution to recognize the Transgender Day of Visibility. Now, more than ever, it seems to be difficult for our allies to stand with us in the open, but not for this group. You're making clear that no matter whatever somebody looks like, wherever they come from, or who they are, that their journey continues here. Visibility is not just about being seen, it's about being understood, respected, and affirmed. It's about challenging the misconceptions and prejudices that too often lead to discrimination and physical or verbal violence. When we are visible, we inspire others to live authentically, fostering a more inclusive and accepting Albany. That's what makes this recognition so meaningful. Since moving back, I've been reminded why I love this community. I've seen so many rainbow flags in bars and restaurants during the month of March. My coworkers accepted me without a moment of judgment, and I'm reconnecting with longtime friends who knew me before I could live as my authentic self. The people of Albany recognize that we all may be a bit different, and in this way, we are all the same. Celebrating this day in Albany is particularly important. We are a capital city, a place where policies are shaped and decisions are made that affect the real lives of transgender people. Being visible here makes us a beacon of hope across the state and the nation. We remind lawmakers that transgender rights are human rights and that our community stands in solidarity with them. You're visible with us, your leadership matters. This day also serves as a stark reminder of the work that remains. Many LGBTQ youth and adults are scared now. I am anxious to be here. The current presidential administration has taken more policy actions that target the transgender community than any in our nation's history, including an executive order that seeks to erase us entirely, and for the first time tries to redefine what it means to be a man or a woman in the most inhumane way possible. If things get worse, and I hope they don't, speaking up for us will be all the more important. So listen to us, learn from us, amplify our stories, and share our humanity. We need you. So I'm so glad to be home, and knowing I have a future here in Albany gives me hope. Again, thank you for standing with the transgender community and honoring Transgender Day of Visibility.
Rebecca Caldon. Rebecca Caldon.
There's no more, anyone else signed up to speak, so public comment period is deemed closed. We'll move on to next items on our agenda. Approval of minutes from previous meeting. Mr. Kimbrough.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer the March 3rd of 2025 meeting minutes for approval.
Is there a second on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Considerations of local laws. Local laws held. Ms. Keegan.
I don't have anything on the docket for local laws tonight. That's going in April.
This is amended? Was it amended?
It'll be introduced as amended in April.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to, reports of standing committees. Department of General Services, Mr. Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. President. The General Service Committee met March 11th, and we discussed local law J, and part of that was to be amended. We also struck out one of the sections, so we'll discuss that in a different time as we felt we needed more information from General Service. We also discussed Ordinance 286223, came out with a favorable recommendation, and Ordinance 29-10224 with a favorable recommendation. I'd also like to thank Howard Goebel and Bill Trudeau for their testimony at the meeting, as they gave us a lot of information that needed clarification for. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ballard?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make members aware, on March 25th, the Planning Committee will be meeting. We will be discussing Ordinance 68, 12124, accessory dwelling units. This is one of 3 meetings we're planning to have. We'll be bringing in different department heads to come and speak and answer questions. So if you have questions or concerns about this bill, please attend this meeting on, again, March 25th. We want to make sure we get all of members' concerns addressed. And again, we are going to have 3 meetings on this, and then we're going to be voting on it. So I want to make sure people have their opportunity to express any concerns they have. Again, this is going to be a good one. We're bringing in a lot of different department heads. So if you can make it, again, the 25th of March at 5:30. We'll also be doing an update on the cabaret licensing from the sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Farrell?
Thank you, Mr. President. On Thursday, March 20th, the Law, Buildings, and Code Committee will be meeting. We'll be discussing Ordinance 217124, which is amending the code in relation to truck parking restrictions. Ordinance 248124, which is redoing the bike code to become active transportation, and local law L, which is the residency requirement code. All of that was resent out somewhat recently, I think last week. If you have any questions, particularly on the residency requirement or anything like that, please come, but if you can share them ahead of time, that would be appreciated, so staff is ready to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Our next item of consideration ordinances. We have none introduced, but we do have some held. Ms. Keegan.
I would notice ordinance 286223 as amended and ask for its passage via roll call.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the ordinance?
An ordinance amending Chapter 313, Solid Waste of the Code of the City of Albany by adding a permitting system for commercial haulers of solid waste.
Discussion on this ordinance. Ms. Keegan?
Yes, just briefly, We worked to establish this ordinance with two specific goals in mind. First and foremost was to ensure that those who are reliant upon commercial haulers were following and compliant with the recycling requirements also contained within city code. And the second purpose for this ordinance was to allow for the Department of General Services to better manage commercial haulers and their travels throughout the city to ensure much better alignment with when and how trash is being placed out on the curb. Because right now in our commercial districts, folks could be putting garbage out every single day of the week based upon which hauler that they have engaged in services with. So again, the purpose of this was really to address quality of life issues, but also to ensure that we were really focusing on recycling compliance throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Anani.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Ballerin.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Conti.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Farrell.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Flynn.
Yes.
Frederick. Oh, she's not here, sorry. Keegan.
Yes.
Kimbrough.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Love.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Robinson.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Zamer.
Yes.
11 in affirmative.
Ordinance passes. Mr. Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know the ordinance 29-102-24 and ask for its introduction and passage.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the ordinance?
An ordinance amending Article 4, Utility Pole Regulations of Chapter 171, Electricity of the Code of the City of Albany in relation to ensuring the quick and effective removal of double poles.
Discussion on this ordinance. Mr. Flynn.
Yeah, but this is just to hold our utility companies accountable for getting the double poles that have been there. So, this is, we've had a lot of issues with the poles not getting picked up. So this is, if they don't pick it up, they're going to be charged a $1,000 fine. So it's just basically to keep these utility companies accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Anani.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Ballerin.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Conti.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Farrell.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Flynn.
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Kimbrough.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Love.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Robinson.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Zamer.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
11 in affirmative.
Thank you. Ordinance passes. Continuing on, Mr. Ballerin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that ordinance 65-11-123 be brought to the floor for a vote.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the ordinance?
An ordinance amending Chapter 375, Unified Sustainable Development Ordinance of the Code of the City of Albany in relation to requirements for signs.
Discussion on this ordinance. Mr. Ballerin?
Thank you, Mr. President. So this came to the Planning Committee. We met twice on this with the Planning Department. The Planning Department addressed some issues and concerns that were brought up at the meeting by former council members as well as current council members, and it moved forward with a positive recommendation. The goal of the bill is to simplify some of the regulations that we have regarding signage in our neighborhoods and in our community, specifically as well for our businesses to be able to have a little more flexibility when it comes to the different type of signages they can put up to promote themselves. So again, it passed with unanimous consent after multiple meetings to address concerns that were brought up.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Anani. Yes, co-sponsor. Ballerin.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Farrell.
Yes.
Flynn.
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Kimbrough.
Yes.
Love.
Yes.
Robinson. Zamer.
Yes.
11 in affirmative.
Ordinance passes. That completes the ordinance. Mr. Kimbrough?
Thank you, Mr. President. Rest of the ordinances on the agenda are held.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to resolutions introduced. Mr. Adams?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to notice ordinance, excuse me. Where is that? Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to notice resolution 15.3225R and ask for its introduction and passage.
Just introducing it. Yes, can the clerk please read for introduction?
A resolution of the Common Council authorizing the Commissioner of the Department of Assessment and Taxation to place property owned by Praise Tabernacle Church of God on the exempt proportion of the 2021, 2022, and 2023 assessment roll, and to exempt such property from taxes based on these rolls.
Mr. Kimbrough?
Thank you, Mr. President. There'll be a referral to Council's Finance Committee.
Thank you. Continuing on, Ms. Love?
Thank you, Mr. President. I noticed resolution 163225R and ask for its introduction.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council honoring the life and legacy of Winnie Mae Everett and renaming a portion of Sheridan Ave in her honor.
Mr. Kimbrough?
Thank you, Mr. President. There will be a referral to the Council's General Services Committee.
Thank you. Continuing on, Mr. Conti?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to notice the introduction of and request passage of resolution 173225R.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council recognizing Transgender Day of Visibility and affirming its support of the trans community.
Discussion on this resolution. Mr. Conti?
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to thank those who spoke in support tonight. I think it's important to hear from members of the community, especially those who are most directly affected by what's happening now in this country now with regard to the trans community. And I can't really add much more to what was said tonight. You know, I've been thinking about this resolution, and we often pass these resolutions recognizing, commemorating days, and we've passed this resolution in the past as well, including we've also passed resolutions recognizing Transgender Day of Remembrance. And maybe not always given it a lot of thought. But it is, based on what's going on now, how the trans community has become a target through the current federal administration of hate, efforts to erase in a community, it's just more important than ever that we stand up and reaffirm our support, our welcoming of the community, of all communities, because you start with one and then you go to another, and that's what's happening with this administration. And we need to be a beacon of hope, of welcome and support, which we have always been. And I'm proud that we adopted an ordinance back in 2004, I believe, way before the state enacted their gender identity and non-discrimination law, and that we were in the forefront of local communities in doing that. You know, earlier this year, and it's unbelievable, but earlier this year, the state of Iowa, which adopted a statewide human rights non-discrimination law in 2007 that included gender identity and expression to protect the trans community. Just a few weeks ago, or last month, they amended that statewide law to explicitly take out civil rights protections, human rights protections for the trans community. And I don't think I've ever seen anywhere an action where a state, a locality, has specifically amended statutory protections, a law, to explicitly eliminate statutory civil rights protections for a protected class. I don't know if anyone else, other states are going to follow that. I know it wouldn't happen here, and it's just unbelievable what is going on and how one community right now is being targeted and erased, where they're going through and basically eliminating the T in LGBT and the Q probably and everything else. Even the Stonewall Inn, which is a national historic park commemorating what happened there in 1969 and when the trans community was a part of what happened there. Part of the history of what happened that day in 1969. Excuse me. It's sometimes hard to talk about this. Where they've actually erased the involvement of the trans community. So what we're doing, we're not passing just another resolution recognizing Trans Day of Visibility, but we're also at the same time making a statement, a reaffirmation of our support and our belief and our inclusion, at least in the city of Albany, of where we stand. I know there are other communities doing similar things, and I hope we can be a model for others to follow. So I do really appreciate everyone's support tonight for this resolution. It is more important than ever that we adopt this, and not just on this issue, but on so many other issues where there are challenges from this administration, including with regard to immigrants, that we stay clearly where we are and reaffirm our support. So I want to thank you for your support on this tonight.
Further discussion? Ms. Keegan?
Thank you, Mr. President. For those of you who are listening at our last meeting, I expressed a deep amount of rage at the intersection of trans rights, women's rights, and misogyny. Tonight, I just want to say to those of you who are here and who came to speak publicly, we will always be a welcoming community to the trans community and the LGBTQ plus IA community. We will always strive to ensure that you are safe here and that you are welcome here and that you are protected and loved here. This is deeply important to all of my colleagues here on the Common Council, and you don't hear it enough. And I want you to know that we deeply love and care about you as a community. I think that that is incredibly important in these times, for you to hear that from the folks on this side of the aisle. And I will turn over my time because I know there's a lot of people who want to speak today.
Ms. Farrell?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you so much to everyone that came in and spoke about this, and to my colleague, Councilmember Conti, for his beautiful words and also for bringing this forward. I think it is especially important right now, but even before the current administration, I would say in the last about year and a half, I've known several families that moved to New York from other states because their kids were trans and they were worried not just about their safety, but about their survival. And I think that's some of the things that we actually need to talk about, because the statistics on violence against trans people is absolutely terrifying. And we need to do all that we can to make safe spaces. We have to do everything we can to have New York continue to be a safe place for trans people. And to the point, it's not always a safe place for trans people. So we need to take our communities and continue to make those safe spaces. So to everyone that is trans, thank you for living authentically. Thank you for showing us who you are truly. We love you, and we will do everything we can, because it should not be a question of safety to just live authentically. If you live authentically, safety shouldn't even be a question. So thanks again to everyone, and we'll continue to stand with you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councilmember Conti, for bringing this forward. I'll be brief. I just want to say to our trans community, if this resolution, this statement by my colleagues and myself makes you feel even an iota safer, then it's well worth it. You're being used as a distraction to what is truly a danger to our city and to our country, which is an extreme federal agenda. They are using you and other vulnerable populations to distract us from what the true dangers to our country actually are. So our trans community deserves to live in safety, the same as all communities in Albany. Thank you for your courage in speaking publicly. I know how difficult that was, and I just want you to know that we will always stand with you.
Mr. Ballard, and then Mr. Anani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank my colleague, Mr. Conti, for putting this forward. I also want to thank everyone who came out today and spoke, and those who are part of the trans community and those who are the allies. I think it's more important today than ever that we do not put our hand in the sand. There was an intimidation tactic being done. There was a reason why we are seeing images of people's heads being shaved and hundreds of people being chipped and imprisoned. There's a reason those images are being put out there. It is to intimidate and hold back any form of resistance and fighting against federal government's assertion of executive power. And now is not the time to allow our fears and anxieties to get the best of us. Now, for those who are watching who may not consider themselves allies of the trans community, and who say, I've got my own battles I'm dealing with every day. Well, think about this. Maybe it's not you today. Maybe it's not you being put in these images and chipped out today. Maybe it's not you being told your status, your legal status is changed today. Maybe it's not you being told you can't serve in my military, in our military today. But when it comes to you, who's going to be left to fight with you if you don't stand up now and fight with everybody that is being pushed and is being dehumanized? If you believe in the value of our country, of what formed our country, that everyone has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit for happiness, then you must stand with those who are being oppressed today. Our history has not been kind, and we know our country has not always been on the right side of history. And you didn't live, many of you didn't live in those times. But you live in this time. You live today. You live now. And we are all going to be judged of how we act now when people in our community are being targeted. So I thank you. Thank you for coming out. I thank you for my colleagues who are supporting this, and I thank the fact that people are pushing back. Let's not allow those fears, let's not allow those intimidations to get the best of us. Remember, if you believe life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, then you should believe that anything that holds that back or holds anyone back from pursuing that is not part of our American values. So thank you again, Councilmember Conti, and thank you again for everyone who came out here today and is really pushing that we keep the fight going.
Thank you, Mr. Nani.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wow, how do I follow that? But thank you. I want to thank Councilmember Conti for all his tremendous work and also always reminding us to put marginalized communities at our forefront of conversations. In the last few weeks, the voices who denied the existence of trans individuals and worked to enact discriminatory policies cloaked under the disguise of women equality have become even more emboldened. And if we don't confront and condemn the rhetoric that seek to further marginalize our transgender, non-conforming queer neighbors, then we only help create the conditions that allow hate to persist and allow young people like Sam and Sid to get killed. Now is not the time to be complacent and stay on the sideline. Allies like myself must be prepared to take a stand and fight for our friends here, because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Because if we don't, it won't be long before they turn towards the rest of us. I want to thank Mr. Conti for introducing this resolution, and I urge my colleagues to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Everyone is co-signers on this as well.
Yes, I do have a
Mr. Conti?
presentation copy of the resolution, which I'd like to, one for In Our Own Voices and one for the Pride Center. And I'd like to also remember, you know, Mr. Nani mentioned and Ms. Legron, Sid Powell, local person who was a victim of violence, as well. Most recently, we had Sam Norquist. So as we pass this, let's remember those whose lives have been lost, who have been victims of violence.
Mr. Conti. These are all co-signers. This will be a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution passes. And Mr. Conti, would you like to present them with the, would like to come up and present you with the, resolution passes. Did I say passes? Did I say resolution? I didn't say resolution passes. Did I? Thank you, council members. Continuing on with resolutions introduced. Mr. Anani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know this resolution 183225R and ask for its passage on a roll call thereon.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council urging the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign the Bigger Better Bottle Bill, Senate Bill 5684, Assembly Bill 6543, and the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act, Senate Bill 1464, Assembly Bill 1749.
Discussion on this bill, on this resolution. Mr. Anani.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. The current political climate calls in action and reversal of climate and environmental policies on the federal level. Necessities increased leadership from the state and local government. This legislation will make New York a national leader in reducing plastic pollution and holding large corporations accountable for their impacts on the environment. I've said it many times, even during the Earth Month, there's no plan B, and we have to protect our environment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. As many know, my day job, I'm the committee director for the Environmental Conservation Committee in the Assembly, so I'm intimately aware of these two bills. And they certainly do, one of their impacts is certainly to reduce waste and plastic pollution, which, as I don't know if we've been paying attention as in depth as I have to different studies that have been out, but increasingly the health impacts of microplastics are just incredibly alarming. We recently had a study saying that we all have about a plastic spoon's worth of microplastics in our brains because our brains gather plastic. So, and also it could be that the prevalence of microplastics and nanoplastics in our systems is what's leading to the dramatic increase of the superbugs and the larger antibiotic, or the larger bacteria that are antibiotic resistant because they stick to the microplastics and are able to grow a lot easier. So the health impacts are real, but it's also, the legislation is a lot about our municipalities because for a really long time our municipalities have just had the expectation that they will deal with whatever it is that is handed to them, and particularly when it comes to garbage and trash. So the packaging reduction legislation mandates reductions in packaging, but it also says that the producers have to actually give municipalities money to offset the costs of the packaging. So there is potential revenue as well for municipalities to begin to deal with this plastic, which is going to be complicated because we also have issues with what leaches out of our landfills, what goes into our water. We're paying in a lot of different ways for this plastic that is going through our systems, and systems broader, environment, into the water system, and very likely that we'll have to start paying to have that cleaned out sooner rather than later, and it's directly related to the plastic packaging that we have. So while in that role I cannot really say one way or another whether people should or shouldn't support it, I can talk a lot of the reasons why it's incredibly important. And I can, in my role as a council member, be a co-sponsor, which I will proudly do.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, can the clerk call the roll?
Adams.
Yes.
Anani.
Yes.
Ballerin.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Conti.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Farrell.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Flynn.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Keegan.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Kimbrough.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Love.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Robinson.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Zamer.
Yes, co-sponsor.
11 in the affirmative.
Resolution passes. Continue on, Mr. Anani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice resolution 1932, 25R, and ask for a passage on the roll call thereon.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council in support of the efforts of the Pine Hills Land Authority in their redevelopment and sale of former College of St. Rose campus.
Discussion on this resolution. Mr. Anani.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. On November 30th, 2023, the College of St. Rose voted to close its doors after the coming semester, bringing the future management of the College of St. Rose, Acre, Pine Hills campus, and the center of the city of Albany to the forefront. Many in the neighborhood have several concerns, particularly about the future of the College of St. Rose. my colleague and I, we held several town hall meetings to hear directly from residents about what they would like to see, but also to inform them about some of the misinformation that was out there for correction. A couple of months later, the authority successfully outbid interested purchasers and have taken the campus over. The establishment of the authority was a massive legislative success that has secured the future of the College of St. Rose campus. However, there is still crucial assistance required from the City of Albany departments as it undertakes responsibilities. And this resolution was to encourage Department of Building and Regulatory Compliance, Department of Fire and Emergency Services, Department of General Services, Albany Police Department, and all other city departments to utilize the resource to best support and the maintenance and development of this campus. When St. Rose closed, business owners in Pine Hills and Madison Ave lost hundreds of potential customers. Now with the Pine Hills Land Authority now officially in control, the revival of this campus and the potential of a new customer base for the neighborhood, businesses only add to the optimism for the future of the former College of St. Rose. I want to thank all my colleagues who have continued to show support publicly and also behind the scenes. I want to thank County Executive Danny McCoy for all the work that he's doing with the Pine Hills Land Authority. I know for those who are watching at home that live in the Pine Hills neighborhood, the best is yet to come. Stay tuned, and we're really excited about what the future holds for the former St. Rose campus. Thank you.
Ms. Farrell?
Thank you, Mr. President. I share the St. Rose campus with Councilmember Anane, and it's been a privilege to work with him through this to make sure that the neighborhood voices are heard, because it is a very scary thing. St. Rose closed, and it's been scary, and I think it's scary beyond just our neighborhood, but when you have constituents that look across the street at the campus, it becomes a lot more real. I can say for myself personally, I was absolutely thrilled when the county worked to step forward and create the Pine Hills Land Authority, because that is the chance to have this big, huge chunk of the city and big, huge chunks of our neighborhoods have some oversight over what happens to them, have a municipal care and view, and not just have it be something that is sold in parcels to the highest bidder for whatever happens there. So I'm looking forward to next steps, but it's going to continue to be a lot of work, and it's going to continue to have to be a lot of collaboration and cooperation, which I think we are all ready for, but I appreciate this resolution being brought forward by my colleague as a reminder that we have to continue to work hard together to make sure that this continues to be a successful part of our city, and maybe even better than before. So thank you for this, and let's keep getting to work on it.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, can the clerk call the roll?
Adams.
Yes.
Anani.
Yes.
Valorem.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Conti.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Farrell.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Flynn.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Keegan.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Kimbrough.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Love.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Robinson.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Zamer.
Yes, co-sponsor.
11 in the affirmative.
Resolution passes. Mr. Kimbrough, we have a majority consent.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I motion to add Resolution 213225R by majority consent.
Your second on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Ballerin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we support a resolution that celebrates and recognizes Ramadan, which is a holiday for many of our residents.
Can you please introduce the resolution?
I'm sorry?
Introduce it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I got all into.
No problem. Introduce it first.
I asked in resolution 213225R.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
Bear with me on how to pronounce it, so I apologize in advance. A resolution of the Common Council commemorating the month of Ramadan and celebrating of Eid al-Iftar.
Thank you. Discussion on this resolution, Mr. Ballerin.
Okay, thank you. I'll be quick and brief. I just wanted to thank all my colleagues for allowing us to put this resolution forward. This resolution is to recognize and celebrate with our residents the month of Ramadan. As most of you probably know, Ramadan started in February 28 and ends on sunset on March 31st. With our growing Muslim community, it's important that we recognize and say, you know, we recognize your contribution to our city, as well as we recognize and celebrate with you this month of Ramadan. So thank you for my colleagues again for allowing this to be moved forward and for your support.
Further discussion? Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams.
Yes.
Anani. Ballerin.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Farrow.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Flynn.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Keegan.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Kimbrough.
Yes.
Love.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Robinson.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Zamer.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
11 in the affirmative.
Resolution passes. Mr. Kimbrough, that concludes resolutions.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The rest of the resolutions on the agenda are held.
Any miscellaneous business?
Just want to say happy St. Patrick's Day.
That's not miscellaneous. Mr. Adams, did I see your hand?
Just as a comment for our guests that came in to speak during public comment in regards to the water fluoridation, just as an update, the city is moving forward with the process to start in April to look for bids, and they are expecting to have this completed by the end of the year. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like other council members have changed their mind or position on this, but at the same time, as we've been seeing more people coming in to speak about this, it is something, as I mentioned before, should be paused and should take an opportunity to hear more from city residents and also look at the data and information that's being provided. Hopefully, you know, people decide to change their minds, but again, just wanted to bring that up, that there are people here in the city that are very much concerned about this issue.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'd like to mention we have Mr. Thompson here. That's going to be our new violence prevention coordinator. We had him at Caucus and wanted to introduce him to the rest of the council before taking him on. So you care to come up here and say a few words to introduce yourself? And yeah, you know, the end, you can go to the end. Yeah, either end is open. Push or pull. I like you was about to get over it though. I like that. Yeah, got to get over it.
Good evening. My name is Eric Thompson, and I'm going to be the new violence prevention coordinator for the city of Albany. I'm very privileged and thankful to have this position because I care a lot about our community. I wish my mother was here to see the work that I'm doing, but she passed away. And I work with a lot of kids and a lot of community members that have had people that passed away. And I think it's important that we recognize the loss and the trauma that's associated with that loss. Violence doesn't start with a gun or a knife. It starts with a feeling of neglect, a feeling of abandonment, and the powerlessness. So I hope through my role that I can be a candle that can light many candles in the city of Albany. I think it's important that we work together because the problem is not too big, but our inability to recognize the power we have as a collective, that's what's too big, and that's what I'm out to conquer. So we can work together to make a difference for the community in Albany.
Can you just a little bit about where you're from, how we got you?
Well, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, but I've found great connections between Brooklyn and Albany. It's ironic, but many of the towns in Albany, in upstate New York, are actually blocks in Brooklyn, whether it's Utica or Schenectady or Albany. I used to hang out on Albany Street and Albany projects. So I say that to say I understand community violence very well. I've been in Albany for about 8 years. I started off at the LaSalle School, which allowed me the opportunity to really recognize the feeling of children who have felt, in some cases, like they've been thrown away. From the LaSalle School, I began to work with 518 Snug, which I worked with for 3 years and became a supervisor. I've mediated countless conflicts. I'm actually a certified gang specialist, so I'm familiar with all of the, I won't say all, but the vast majority of the gangs in the area, whether they're older gangs like OGK and, Jungle Junkies, or they're new gangs like KBM or FOB. KBM stands for Kill By Minds. FOB is Family of the Bloods, which is turned into Focused on Bread. NFL is Never Forget Loyalty. These are all organizations or street families that I hope to begin to influence in a positive way. I know a lot of these members personally. I've helped their mothers get jobs. I've helped their fathers when they re-entered from prison. I helped their brothers and sisters get rehabilitation. I bought them food. I bought them clothes. So I'm dedicated to this, and I want to see the Violence Prevention Task Force be a representative force for good and a recognized entity in the city of Albany.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Thompson, anyone have questions for him? Oh, okay. Ms. Farrell?
I just wanted to thank you so much for accepting this role and bringing your expertise to it, because we definitely need you and we need your background and your passion, and we appreciate you stepping into the role and coming to talk to us tonight too. Thank you.
I thank you, and I'm privileged.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks. Motion to adjourn?
Hold on, Mr. Conti.
I missed something. That's not how we've been doing it.
I can't hear. We can't hear up here. No. No. There's a motion on the, I can't make it.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.